If you're looking for a budget way to get into the Pokemon TCG while still being able to compete with the big decks, then Blissey V might just be a list for you. At the recent Milwaukee Regional Championships in America, this list ended up being piloted to a second place finish thanks to Connor Lavelle's fantastic list, and the best thing about it is it only costs about $36 US for the entire deck. The card that we're going to be focusing in on today is Blissey V, a fantastic V card that is incredibly powerful, 250 HP, colorless V that has a really cool attack. That attack is Blissful Blast. For one colorless energy, it deals 10 damage, which is not that big of a deal, but for every energy that you have attached to this Blissey, we deal 30 more damage. So a single energy will deal 40 damage. If you have a powerful colorless energy, then you'll be dealing an extra 20. If you have a double turbo energy, then you'll be dealing 2 times 3 minus 2, which is what, 40 damage. The other amazing thing about this attack is that every time you attack, you accelerate energy out of the discard pile. That means that if you have any energy in your discard pile, you can accelerate up to 3 cards onto this Blissey. It means you can attach double turbo energies, you can attach powerful colorless energies, even captures or lucky energies from the discard pile to power up your Blissey into the future. Something that you will need to do though is keep this Blissey alive. It can't be knocked out, or otherwise you need to start over fresh with a new one. So we're going to include cards like Cape of Toughness in the list to increase the amount of HP that our Blissey has, getting upwards of 300 HP, which for a basic Pokemon is incredibly high. Now if that isn't enough, we also have one copy of Miltank in the list, which means that we've got a basic attacker that is a non-V that can also pack a little bit of a punch. Its attack for 2 colorless energy is Route. It deals 10 damage, plus 20 more for every benched Pokemon your opponent has. That means that Miltank can very easily start hitting relatively large numbers on some of those Pokemon that you're not necessarily as worried about knocking out in one shot, as well as the ability Miracle Body, which means that it cannot be attacked by Pokemon V or V-Star. That is super strong. Eventually, you're going to force your opponent into a non-V or V-Star attacker, or you're going to win the game. It's as simple as that. We also have in the deck Radiant Greninja, which is a card that's seen a lot of play in a bunch of decks. Obviously, Palkia V-Star is a great example. This card's super strong in this deck because of its ability Concealed Cards. It means that you can discard any energy from your hand and draw 2 cards from the top of your deck. Now, most people are playing this with water energy in other decks, but we can discard our special energy using Greninja to accelerate through our deck, as well as put energy in the discard pile for Blissey to accelerate. One other really cool card that Connor was using in his second place list was Tornadus, 120 HP colorless basic Pokemon. It's not necessarily going to be an attacker in this list. Instead, we're using it for the ability. It has Sudden Cyclone, which means when you play this Pokemon from your hand to your bench, you can force your opponent to choose a Pokemon to put into the active position. Now, most of the time, they'll probably give you something that they're not necessarily worried about being knocked out, but every now and then, situations will arise where a freak knockout on a benched Pokemon that your opponent wasn't expecting can turn the game. We also have a ton of healing in this deck with cards like Cheren's Care, Hyper Potion, Team Yveltal, and also the brand new Switch Cart, which means that if your opponent cannot take a one-shot on your Blissey V, you'll be able to heal those up at any time you like. Combine that with cards like Path to the Peak and Roxanne, the new supporter card, and you'll probably find yourself in positions where you are able to slow your opponent down enough to get yourself a massive Blissey for a big knockout. So this deck's obviously been really good in Milwaukee. What we're going to do is we're going to jump onto the ladder and play a couple of games with it. Hopefully you are enjoying the content so far. If you are, please subscribe and like this video if you could. Got ourselves a pretty awkward start here. Yveltal as an opener is not ideal, but we do have the quick ball, so we can grab ourselves a Blissey here. I like that. We can play that onto the bench and then use the capture energy in hand to grab ourselves that Radiant Greninja. Radiant Greninja obviously really good because of this Concealed Cards ability. Allows us to discard a DTE and find some more cards. Professor's Research in hand is pretty solid. I do like the option of that. The big issue that we're going to have here is this Yveltal in the active is not great in this matchup. But we do have Scoop Up Nets and stuff. By the way, if you want to see the list, it's down in the description. You can check it out there. We'll use Switch Cart here to get the Blissey into the active, attach the powerful colours, and then just research. It sucks losing all those healing cards, but you know it's better than nothing. And then we can concealed cards here. Get rid of the DTE. And see whether or not we can find another Blissey. Didn't find it. Take a knockout. Pretty solid start. We get 3 extra energies onto this Blissey. We've got pretty much all the supporters that we could possibly want in our hand. And now we've also got Zinnia's Resolve. Zinnia's Resolve obviously allowing us to discard 2 cards from our hand, put some energy in the discard pile, and then draw cards equal to the amount of Pokemon our opponent has in play. Palkia is going to want to have 6. So we should be looking fine. Can they ever reach 250 here? They've got, if they have a full bench, they'll have 140, 200 plus choice belt. They can probably never get there. They'd need like double Scoop Up Net to be able to ping twice with a Zigzagoon if they play it. So I'm not necessarily certain that they can get there. If they do, and that's okay. They probably need to use the V-Star ability to attack this turn, which means that maybe, just maybe, we can give ourselves a bit of a chance by taking a knockout on this Palkia at some point later in the game. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. If they do use their V-Star ability, then we could theoretically sit behind a Miltank for a while, which would be good. Miltank obviously not going to be able to be knocked out by the Palkia V-Star. I'll need to attack it with either Radiant Greninja or Inteleon. Both are fine options, by the way, so we'll just have to wait and see. Ice Rider Calyrex is a card that I am worried about, because that can easily knock out a Blissey, especially if they have like Tool Scrapper or something like that. So we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see. We've got Avery in our hand. I think that's probably a likely card to play here. It depends, of course, on what they do. Because Avery will probably force them to discard, well, at least one of their Inteleon pieces. So that seems pretty solid. For me, here comes that ability, Star Portal, accelerating some water energy from the discard to the Pokemon in play, and only onto Palkia. So this is pretty good for us, actually. What I'm thinking... Ooh, top decking that other Hyper Potion is pretty big. That's pretty large. Let's play this. Discard the DTE. That'll get rid of 120 damage. And then we can play the second Hyper Potion if we'd like. Get rid of another one. What we might do first, though, is concealed cards. We'll see if we can't find, like, a... I don't know, something else. We'll see if we can find something. Hyper Potion seems pretty good. We'll get that played. We'll get rid of that DTE as well. Heal some energy. Oh, heal some energy. Heal some damage off. Completely fresh Blissey now. And then I think we probably just go for the Avery. That Cape of Toughness is very nice. I like that. We'll wait and see what our opponent elects to discard. All going with the Ice Rider. That's not what I was expecting, but that's okay. Now we'll attach Cape of Toughness. We'll attach Lucky Energy. And then we will Blissful Blast. We've played down the Path of the Peak, so hopefully our opponent doesn't utilize their Radiant Greninja next turn. And we get 3 double turbo energies onto our Blissey. Each of those represents 40 extra damage. It's obviously 2 energy, so 2 times 3 is 6. 60 damage, minus the 20 from the energy itself is 40. So all 3 of those are an extra 120 damage. Oh my goodness. Plus the powerful colors is an extra 50. Dealing a lot here. Maths is not necessarily my strong suit, as you'll know if you've watched the videos before. And yeah, we'll hope, I'm gonna hope anyway, that this is fine. I'm gonna hope this is fine. We'll wait and see how this goes. We'll wait and see. Also, I've just realized that I'm not entirely sure whether my microphone was on when I was recording just me before in the intro. You'll have seen an intro. The question is it the intro that I recorded before this game, or is it the intro that I recorded after this game because I stuffed the intro up the first time? We'll wait and see. I'm not entirely sure. Also, thank you very much to Shay for for doing the editing on this video. I appreciate it. He's obviously at Hotshot TCG if you want to follow him. Fantastic. YouTube, Twitter, etc. I'll put the links down below. He's a legend. He's helping me out. I appreciate it. I don't know if he's watched this bit because I said to just chuck the game in. We'll see. We'll see if he's been creative. If he's been creative, he'll put a big explosion on There's no explosion. There's never going to be an explosion, Mitch. What are you doing? Okay, so this is going quite well for Lucky Dream 0704 on the other side of the field there. He's got an Ice Rider Calyrex, he's got a Palkia, he's also got a Powered Inteleon, which is pretty good. We have a solid board state of our own, but we also, I was about to say, we also need another Blissey, and we have managed to find one here. So we definitely want to have access to that. We'll play that down on the bench. Now the question is, what do we do? Because this is a deck where you kind of need to think a little bit in advance. I'm thinking we attach Lucky Energy to the Blissey on the bench. We're obviously fine to deal a knockout onto the active Palkia, but I think we actually want to get rid of this Ice Rider, remove it whilst we have the chance. We'll take the knockout, take 2 prizes on that particular Pokemon, and hope that they don't have a way to deal a 1-hit KO on our Blisseys into the future. I don't mind this situation. The issue, of course, will be that next turn I don't necessarily have a super powerful Blissey lined up. The best case scenario for us would be top decking another boss so we can take a knockout on a Sobble or Drizzile. That would be great. Although, to be fair, I don't know if that's going to happen. And also, the only realistic way that we can guarantee a switch is by allowing our opponent to switch themselves. We could use Tornadus. That could work. Or is it Thundurus? It's Tornadus. It's definitely Tornadus. Anyway, we could use that, but it's not necessarily guaranteed that we get exactly what we want. So we'll wait and see. We've got the Blissey now to put into the active, and this Inteleon is not what we want to be attacking into. We are going to find it very, very awkward here. But on the plus side, they cannot knock us out with the Inteleon. And with that Cape of Toughness, they actually can't knock us out with their Palkia either. So there's that Tornadus. We could use it here. I don't know whether it's worth using. We'll grab it. I mean, it's a good card. So we'll grab it. And then we'll also go for the Capture Energy. We definitely don't need anything off of that. We can just cape here. We're dealing how much? 70 damage at the moment, so using Tornadus doesn't actually get us a knockout anywhere. Maybe I'll just go for Zinnia's Resolve, discard a couple of cards and hope that it all works out. We'll get rid of the Path and the Switch Cart. Maybe we can find something a little more useful. Well, we have Yveltal that can heal some damage, which I'm not a big... I'm not disappointed with that. I'm thinking that what we're going to have to do here is that we're going to have to just Blissful Blast. I think that's the only thing that we can do. Realistically, our opponent cannot deal enough damage to knock us out. So I think this is fine. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go for the double powerful colorless and then also the Lucky Energy, because I would like to draw some more cards. I obviously get more damage with the double colorless, with the double turbo, but I think it's going to be better to hold off on that for the moment. We'll just use the Blissey and then go from there. I know we've already used 3 Hyper Potions, so we'd need to manage to draw into our last one, and even if we do that, we can still utilize our Hyper Potion by discarding cards that aren't powerful colorless, and we should be fine. So yeah, it's a little bit it's a little bit of a thinking man's deck, this one. I wasn't expecting it when I started playing. I wasn't expecting it to be a deck for the intelligentsia, as it were. But it's happening. It's certainly happening. And right here, right now, we've got a very interesting situation brewing. It looks like they're going to go for a fresh Palkia, which, you know, I can get behind that. Fresh Palkia seems pretty good. They are going to attack into us here. They won't take a knockout. There is no way that they can reach 280 damage on this turn. 270 I could see. 280 seems tough. There is a Hyper Potion. That's actually really big. Let's play the team Yveltal. It's going to heal 50 damage. Then I'm thinking now might be the time to use that Tornadus. We'll play down the Miltank. No, we won't. We won't play that down. We'll just let me think for a second here. I've got a lot of cards. I'm going to play down a Blissey. We definitely want to have a backup attacker. We've got the Cape, so that's fine. We could use the Tornadus here to force our opponent to bring up a Pokemon that we can knock out. Because we cannot knock out this Palkia. I don't think we need another Blissey. One more should be enough. We've got a powerful colorless in hand. We've also got the potion. What are we looking at here? I think we could be fine. thinking music, please. Let's go for the Sudden Cyclone. We're going to use this ability now and force our opponent to make a decision. What Pokemon are they willing to let us have? My gut feeling is they're probably going to give us the Greninja. It's a little bit dead at the moment, in the sense that Path to the Peak is in play, and you can't use Greninja under Path. Looks like that's what they're going to go with. Now, can we take a knockout if I use Potion here? We'll discard 2. We've got 3, 6, 9, 10. We actually can get a knockout if we Hyper Potion, so I will get rid of 2 energy that are not powerful colorless, so that'll do 120 damage, and mean that we're sitting on about, what, 270? Seems pretty good. We can then attach to the benched Blissey, which I really like, giving us 60 damage here. Then, next turn, if we boss, we can boss up the Palkia. That's got 110. Maybe if we get lucky, we might be able to win the game from here. Let's draw some more cards, though, I think. Actually, let's just take the knock. Oh, goodness. Thinking's hard. Thinking's bloomin' tough. Let's just use the attack. No, let's... Marnie? We should just Marnie. Let's just attack. Okay, we're just going to attack. We've got the boss in hand. We don't need to stress. Give me all the double turbos. We need to deal as much damage as we possibly can. Our opponent can very easily get a knockout here, by the way. But getting the capture energy is strong. Capture energy puts us at, what, 60, 80 damage? We might be just a little short. If we had one more powerful colorless energy on our benched Blissey, then we would actually be able to take a knockout on this Palkia, I think. Because we'd be dealing 3 times 2, which is 60, plus 1 is 70, plus 40 is 110. That's the amount of HP this Palkia has. So if we find the powerful colorless energy that is missing from our deck, and we get to play boss, we will be able to win the game on this Palkia here. But the issue is that we kind of need... Okay, I'm not going to say it. I was going to say we kind of need our hand to stay the same, but I'm not going to say it because we're in a position where not only can we be Marnied, we can also just be Roxanne, and that would be brutal too. So we don't want either of those things to happen. The good thing is, we are in a very strong position because even if our opponent does get a knockout on us this turn, even if they do, we still have a Blissey full HP that cannot be easily knocked out next turn. So I am feeling comfortable. Hopefully all works out. They're going to subspace swell. This is fine. Scoop Up Net is good. Do we find the cards that we need? Let's throw the Blissey forward. I think the best thing to do here... Do we even really need to do anything? I'm going to scoop up the Yveltal. Let's just attach, because we're in a position now where we should be fine to win this game, even if everything goes wrong. Let's Roxanne. We'll see what happens. We'll Roxanne. Our opponent can never knock out this Blissey this turn. We're going to be able to accelerate a ton of energy. All we need to do is have a relatively strong turn, and we should be fine. So we whiff the knockout here, but we know we can never ever be knocked out in return. We'll chuck all these double turbo energies on there. Oh, we actually needed the powerful colors. I should have done those two. That's alright. We're missing 20 damage here. What are the chances of me whiffing by 20 damage? Actually, really high. Oh my god. Top decking boss wins us the game. We shuffled. We know there's one in there because we had one in our hand. We also theoretically could use Tornadus again, although I don't know how many Scoop Up Nets we've got. They're going to retreat here, go into Inteleon. We are now in a position where I think I stuffed up. It's okay. We could still Hyper Potion, or we could just top deck the boss for the game. That's also fine. That is also perfectly fine. Just take the knockout. See you later. Palkia, you need to learn. You need to learn, Palkia. You cannot deal with Blissey. Blissey has all the power that it needs. One of our bosses was prized. Oh my goodness, that was so lucky. Another one. Let's see how we go. We can concealed cards to start off here. I like this. Let's get rid of a lucky energy. Capture energy is fine. It's not ideal to be attaching to Greninja, but you know what? I'd rather that than nothing. So let's throw down the Blissey. Our opponent is playing an Arceus deck. The chances of them attacking pretty slim. Not gonna lie to you. Chances are pretty slim. We're gonna see whether we can get across the line against Rob Gadget. Rob, if you're watching, thank you for being a friend. Oh, I thought we were playing something slightly watery, but no, it looks like instead we are going to be playing up against a dark box of some description. So this could be very interesting. Maybe there is a way for them to knock out this Greninja this turn. If there is, then fair play to my opponent. Looks like they're going to go for a Choice Belt onto the Hooper V to add an extra 30 damage. Feel like there's not a huge amount that they will be able to do this turn, but next turn they will be able to get attacking pretty quickly. That Moltres V able to power itself up very, very fast until 190 damage, but they can never, ever, 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 ever take a one-shot on a Blissey with either of the attackers that they have on the field. All three of them, Arceus, Hooper, and also the Moltres. Cannot take a knockout on a Blissey ever. So they'll need to work for it. 2 attacks is fine by me. Hopefully everything works for the best. We'll wait and see. Radiant Greninja with an energy on it. We can retreat it next turn. We've got the lucky energy in hand that we can discard. We should be able to have a pretty solid turn here, and with any luck, we might even be able to take a knockout by using Tornadus to bring that coughing out. Our opponent, though, will need to give us the coughing. I don't think that they'd be willing to give us anything else, honestly. But to be brutally honest, I don't really want to hit into this Arceus. I'd much rather knock out a coughing. The reason for that is that later in the game I can potentially knock out another one with a fresh Blissey, something that's come into play that I can utilize at some point. Looks like they're going to use Escape Rope and just attach and attack. So I don't know what I was thinking. It turns out that I was wrong. They can attack this turn. And now we have to try just that little bit harder. We'll throw down the Lucky into the discard pile, and now we have a very interesting situation. Let's attach this powerful colorless energy. We'll use the Tornadus. Actually, probably should have done that in an opposite order, but that's okay. We'll wait until our opponent decides what Pokemon they want to put in the active, and then we're likely to just play Avery, frankly. I think that's going to be our only supporter this turn. I mean, I think it's guaranteed to be, so we'll play it. And this is a hand. This is certainly a hand of Pokemon cards that we have received. 2 lucky energy is good because it means that we can theoretically get some more cards next turn. But we will lose this Blissey, and I'm not a big fan of that. Honestly, not a big fan of that. We're going to lose this Blissey very early on here. And this is sometimes where this deck can struggle, right? In these games where you lose attackers early, you don't have a chance to accelerate a lot of energy to your attacker. And then you get Marnied out of a hand that frankly isn't very good, but at least it had energy in it. Just powerful colorless energy into the discard, into the bottom of the deck is not good. But that's okay. It looks like we've been given pretty much everything. Well, I never expected anything else. We've got everything. We've got everything that we need, everyone. It's perfectly fine. Miltank, not ideal. Don't like that. But there are 6 prizes on the board already, so I'm feeling fine. I don't know who I'm trying to convince, you or me. Our opponent will take a knockout with this Moltres, but they'll also continually be dealing damage to themselves. So I feel like it's not that big of a deal. We should be okay, we should. And it should work out for our advantage. As long as we can keep one of our Blissey alive. Oh, it's going to be a bit tough. We'll see how we go. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. It's going to be real. It's going to be really bloody awkward. Alrighty. Come on. Focus. Here we go. Oh, there's that coughing that I was talking about before. We can knock that out. That's definitely achievable. That is an achievable single prize for us to win the game. Happy with that. Could even knock it out with a Miltank, which would be nice. Using Starbirth here, our opponent's taking a long time, so I'm just going to adjust myself here in my chair. I'm just going to make as many squeaks and noises as I possibly can. and then we'll start talking, as we usually do at this point in the game, about people who are still hanging around. 36%? I will actually double check that at some point, because I feel like I'm just making numbers up, but I know for a fact that in the second game, lots of people aren't watching. So, if you are watching during the second game, whilst I'm getting my Blissey kicked in, then please leave a comment down below. Let's say, what's a special word that you could integrate into a sentence? Frog. Write something about a frog. I don't know. Powerful colorless energy here. Onto the active. We can use Radiant Greninja, discard the double turbo. We don't need that. This is a hand. We're going to quick ball away the other double turbo here. Grab ourselves another Blissey. And then we will utilize Marnie. I reckon that seems like a pretty good combination of cards to have played all in a row. Play Marnie and then draw a fresh hand. I like this. This is a good set of cards to be utilizing. We can attach the cape and then Blissful Blast will do 70 damage to this Moltres. Then we can grab, I'm going to grab Double Lucky and a Powerful, I think, because I want to draw more cards, right? That's the good thing about getting attacked into sometimes, is that you get to draw more cards. It means that we could find Boss's Orders. It means that we could find, potentially, I was going to say, heal cards. We have 3 in hand. We probably don't need any more. That's okay. In fact, maybe you should have just gone for a DTE. It's okay. Don't worry about it. Just everyone relax. It's going to be fine. 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 Also, another thing to note. Our opponent could take a knockout, not this turn, but next turn, but we will take a knockout next turn. We'll go down to 3 prizes remaining. And theoretically, and this is big time theory here, this is not anything that I've thought of beyond the last 2 minutes, but theoretically we will be on top of the prize trade at some point in this game, especially if we get to heal, like the Cheren and the 2 Hyper Potions in our hand, both very, very strong, so I'm happy with those. If our opponent attacks with Moltres, then we can Hyper Potion away a couple of energies here. It looks like that's what they're going to do, so we'll draw 2 cards, then we can Hyper Potion away a couple of energies, and still take the knockout, which I like, and now our hand is full of supporters, which I am very happy about. We will play this Hyper Potion. We'll start off with that. We'll get rid of the 2 lucky energy here. Heal off 120 damage. Means now we've got 250 damage available to us. We'll Avery and force our opponent to discard 2 cards. Probably going to be the Crobat, honestly. The Crobat and the Weezing seem like the obvious choices here. Doesn't necessarily mean that that's what they're going to do, but it does feel correct. So we'll wait and we will see. There we go. Okay, it took him a second. And now we're in a situation where we can attach to the benched Blissey. We can then play anything we want, really. Path to the Peak seems fine. And then we can Blissful Blast. We'll take a knockout on the Moltres, take 2 prizes, and also have a very strong Blissey in the active that could theoretically take 2 more prizes next turn. I'm not entirely sure on what the maths is, which is that's not usually the way that I play this game. I'm usually very astute with the mathematics. I usually know exactly what I'm talking about. But we can figure it out. How much is that? 3, 6, 9, 12. Oh my god. We're going to have to play soon. 12, 15, 18. I think we're actually getting a knockout here, but the question is, do we want the knockout? Do we care about the knockout right now? Can I just Cheren? Do I care about taking a knockout in this Hooper? Or would I rather just Cheren? It's bobbling at me. That Cheren's bobbling. You saw it. You all saw it. It popped out of a hand of 20 cards. We have to play it. Let's Cheren. We'll get rid of this Blissey off of the field. We can play down a new one. Then we can play down our bench Blissey with the cape back on. We can utilize a... we should use the Powerful Colorless because that's a modifier of 50. We can Blissful Blast here. This is good. It gives 110 damage. Put the lucky energy in the discard pile back on there. But this now means that next turn they'll hit into us. We can attach to a benched Blissey and get ourselves ready for our next turn. And we're going to find ourselves in front on that lovely prize trade. Also, they're going to hit into us for 200 damage here. We might be able to heal again. So that's good. To be honest, this is even better. If they get rid of this Tornadus, I'm more than happy with that. Because that is not necessarily a good time for them. It's not a good time. Oh, they're going to boss anyway. Okay, fair enough. That makes a lot of sense. Trinity Nova. Okay, so 200 damage. 180 because of the double turbo energy. Let's figure this out here. Do I boss that Hooper and hope for the best? Or do I do something else? Well, getting into these cards here makes me think that a knockout on Hooper is pretty good. We're going to put the powerful colorless energy on the bench. Then we are going to Blissful Blast. We'll take the knockout. Our opponent here will probably knock our Blissey out. That's okay. We then have 2 turns to get a knockout on their Arceus V-Star. We have healing out the wazoo here. We've got a Hyper Potion, we've got a towel, we've got a little cart thingy. This is pretty good. It means that no matter how much damage our opponent deals next turn, we should be able to heal it all off. And also, it will allow us to get a big Blissey going here. So I think we're going to be good. We've got a whole bunch of DTE here. I like this. Let's quick ball thin some cards because we don't need them. Our hand is very big. Our hand is very, very large. We probably play a supporter. Doesn't really matter which supporter. Now I've got even more healing options. Let's Blissful Blast here. We'll deal a little bit, 100 damage. Put ourselves in a spot where we can get all of these energies back in. Next turn we can attach and take a knockout. There is nothing our opponent can do. And even if we are going to miss the knockout for whatever reason, maybe they do something crazy like Cheren or whatever, then we have all of the pieces that we need to go and attack this turn. That's disappointing. Why do I say anything? Why do I ever say anything about my hand? Oh boy. Oh, it's fine, we got a boss anyway. We got the boss again! Oh boy, what a wild time. It's just silly, ladies and gentlemen, the way that this game works out sometimes. But you can see, right, the way that Blissey works by pestering your opponent, making it so that they realistically cannot get to that knockout. They're going to route here, deal a little bit of damage. We can then use the capture energy. We won't find anything. We don't need to use the boss's orders. And then I'm almost certain that Blissful Blast will be a knockout. That's 270 damage. A very solid attack, if you don't mind me saying. Our last prize and another victory for Blissey. So thank you very much for coming past today. I appreciate it, as I usually do. All these people over here, I appreciate you even more. You guys are the best. Thank you very much for being a member. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you've enjoyed this Blissey video, and I'm looking forward to showing you this video, which is another really pesky deck that you probably won't be able to knock out in one shot. It's the winner of the tournament. That's Arceus Duraludon VMAX. Definitely worth a watch, if you don't mind me saying.